every self-help book written in the last 50 years borrowed from one source. They just never told you which one. The productivity systems, the emotional regulation techniques, the frameworks for dealing with difficult people, managing pressure, and building a life that does not collapse under its own weight. All of it traces back to a philosophy that is over 2,000 years old. A philosophy that was not written for academics, not designed for monasteries, not built for people with quiet, comfortable lives. It was built for people in the middle of chaos, people carrying responsibilities they did not ask for, people surrounded by betrayal, pressure, and circumstances entirely outside their control. It was built for exactly the life you are living right now. Marcus Aurelius did not read about this philosophy from a distance. He governed the most powerful empire on earth using it as his daily operating system. He wrote about it privately, honestly, without performance. And what he recorded was not theory. It was a survival manual for the human mind. Most channels teach you the surface. 3 principles, 5 quotes, a highlight reel of ancient wisdom packaged for an algorithm. What you are about to read is what they leave out. The parts of Stoicism that are genuinely difficult to hear. The parts that require something from you. The parts that will not let you stay comfortable. Pay attention, because this is the version that actually changes lives. The philosophy. 1. Stoicism is not about feeling less. It is about choosing what you feel for. This is the most misrepresented idea in all of Stoic philosophy, and almost nobody corrects it. Most people hear Stoic and think it means cold, suppressed, emotionally shut down, a man who stares at tragedy without flinching because he has trained himself to feel nothing. That is not Stoicism. That is damage wearing a philosophy's name. What the Stoics actually taught was this: you do not get to choose what happens. You do get to choose what you assign meaning to, and what you assign meaning to determines what controls you. Marcus Aurelius lost children. He buried friends. He watched people he trusted betray him publicly. He did not feel nothing. He chose not to be governed by feelings he could not control. Those are 2 entirely different things. Stoicism does not ask you to become a statue. It asks you to become a person whose emotional responses serve them rather than enslave them. Hold this distinction, because Principle 4 is going to show you the specific mechanism Marcus used to do exactly that, and it is something no channel ever explains properly. 2. Your perception is the only thing standing between you and peace. The Stoics identified something that modern neuroscience has spent decades trying to prove. The event and your interpretation of the event are not the same thing. 2 people lose the same job. One is destroyed. One pivots within a week. The job loss was identical. The interpretation was not. Marcus wrote repeatedly about what he called examining the impression. Before reacting to anything, he would stop and ask, is this thing actually terrible, or does it only appear terrible from where I am currently standing? Almost every source of suffering in a human life is not the situation itself. It is the story layered over the situation. The Stoics called this the discipline of perception, and it is the entry point to everything else the philosophy offers. The moment you genuinely separate what happened from what you decided it means, you recover something most people never even knew they lost: the ability to choose your own response. 3. Discomfort is not a problem to solve. It is a resource to use. Here is the principle that modern culture has done everything possible to avoid. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, deliberately, regularly, not as punishment, not as performance, but as a form of psychological inoculation. Marcus would occasionally eat plain food when rich food was available. He would sleep on the floor. He would strip away comfort temporarily to remind himself of a single critical truth: comfort is available, but it is not required. Why does this matter? Because the moment you know you can survive without something, it loses its power to control you. The fear of losing it dissolves, the anxiety around it disappears, and you are left with a relationship to that thing built on freedom rather than dependency. The Stoics were not anti-pleasure, they were anti-slavery to pleasure. There is a difference so significant that most people spend their entire lives missing it.
4. Every person who tests you is a teacher sent without your permission. This is the Stoic idea that is most underexamined on the entire internet, and it is one Marcus returned to constantly. He wrote about the people who frustrated him, who acted unjustly, who failed him publicly, and rather than cataloging reasons to despise them, he would ask himself, what is this person showing me about the part of myself that has not been fully developed yet? The Stoics called this the practice of turning obstacles outward into mirrors. The colleague who undermines you is showing you how much your self-worth is still borrowed from external validation. The person who triggers your anger is revealing exactly where your discipline has a gap. The relationship that drains you is pointing directly at the boundary you have not enforced. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for a version of you that has not been built yet. Marcus governed an empire using this principle, not because it made difficult people easier to tolerate, but because it meant difficult people became fuel. Do not skip Principle 6. It contains the Stoic idea most directly connected to the life you want to build, and it is the one almost no channel ever reaches. 5. The present moment is the only place where your power actually lives. The Stoics were not romantic about time, they were surgical about it. They observed that human suffering operates almost entirely in two places: the past, where regret lives, and the future, where anxiety lives. And they noticed that neither of those places is real in the only sense that matters. You cannot act in either of them. You can only act now. Marcus wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events, and that the realization of this is where your freedom begins. This is not about ignoring the future. Planning is practical and necessary, but planning from the present is entirely different from being consumed by a future that has not arrived. One is useful. The other is borrowing suffering from a time that may never come. The Stoics practiced bringing everything back to the single question: what is the one available action in this specific moment? Not tomorrow, not eventually, now. That question, asked consistently, is one of the most powerful psychological redirects ever developed. 6. Death is not the enemy. An unlived life is. The Stoics thought about death daily, not morbidly, strategically. Marcus practiced what they called Memento Mori, a deliberate, regular reminder that the time available is finite, not negotiable, and already in motion, not to create dread, but to create urgency around what actually matters. He wrote that you could leave life right now, that the only question worth asking was whether you had been fully present for the portion already given. Most people live as though they have an extension waiting, as though the version of themselves they are working toward has infinite runway, as though the conversation they keep postponing, the work they keep circling, the life they keep rehearsing will eventually have a better moment to begin. The Stoics disagreed, completely, permanently. The better moment is not coming. This is the moment. And the person who understands that does not live faster. They live more deliberately, more honestly, more fully present inside the one window they actually have. That is the final destination of everything Stoicism teaches. Not calm, not detachment, not emotional numbness. Full, deliberate, uncontrolled presence inside the only life you have been given. You just absorbed 6 principles that most people who call themselves Stoics have never fully encountered. But here's the part that will keep you thinking tonight. Stoicism does not ask you to become someone else. It asks you to stop performing the version of yourself that was built by other people's opinions, other people's fears, and other people's definitions of what a successful life looks like. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private journal alone. No audience, no applause, no followers watching. He was talking to the version of himself he was still building. And the question he kept asking was not whether the world would remember him. It was whether he would be able to look at the person he was becoming and recognize someone worth being. That is the question Stoicism asks every single person who takes it seriously. The next video on the rational soul goes even deeper. We are pulling apart the specific daily practices the Stoics use to actually build this kind of life from the inside out. Not philosophy, not theory. The mechanism, the method, the exact internal moves. Most channels will never get there because it requires going past the surface, past the quotes, past the inspirational packaging, into the part of ancient wisdom that is genuinely hard to sit with. The rational soul was built for the people willing to sit with it. If that is you, you already know what to do. Subscribe to the rational soul. Turn on every notification. Do not miss the next one. The people already subscribed are already a version ahead of where you are standing right now. That gap compounds every single week. Do not miss the next one.